Testing 1 2. 1 2 3. Just making sure everything works here. Everything's running smoothly. Are coming into the chat now. It's nice to see. See, Donica is wishing everybody a happy Friday, 343. Hello, Donica. Todilas is here. Hi, Todilas. Calico Council is here. Apache Cat. Any relation to Bootsy Calico? F-stop. I see you, man. Or maybe you're not a man. Maybe you're a woman. Just another minute or so, and we'll get started. Just waiting for the right time to come. Oh, Simple Sam is here. Wishing everybody a happy hangover from Thanksgiving Day, that is. That would be happy post food coma day. Tryptophan induced coma. almost ready now. Just waiting for this video to end here, and we'll get started. Almost there, everybody. Hey, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Friday, and for those that are in the United States, happy post-food coma day. I think Simple Sam said happy Thanksgiving hangover day. Everybody, welcome back. My name is Abe Duque. I'm here every Friday with you guys, kind of talking production. My show is called Production Basics here on 343 TV. We are here every day except for Sundays at 1 p.m. and we stream on the topics that you all love. You all know what we talk about: production, composition, sound design, all of the above. We have a school. It's 343labs.com if you want to come and visit our website. We have locations in New York and in Berlin. And, of course, you could take classes with us online. We have classes starting all the time. Actually, we have a Black Friday sale. Today's Black Friday. If you're going to get a class, you should look into getting it today because it's Black Friday. And we're running a Black Friday special. So have a look at the website and see if there's anything that can fit you. I'm looking at the chat. A lot of people that I'm getting to know now from this community. Danica says this is a wonderful community, or this community is great, said Danica. Donica's here. Welcome, Donica. Simple Sam, F-Stop, Calico Council. A. Paul is here. Let's see who else. Dildilas. Lots of Pavel. Pavel just got here. Hey, Pavel. Good to see you. Welcome back. So let's get back. Let's get right into it. Let's see. Let me make sure that everything is running here. And let's get back directly into my Ableton screen where we're going to continue where we left off last time. If you guys have been watching, hey, Hank just showed up. I just see Hank there. If you guys have been watching the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with some ideas and approaches towards producing or getting your vocals in your productions up to spec. You know, getting them going and getting them ready for, the market, let's say. Now, the thing about vocals, and we've talked about it, and I'll do a quick recap. I don't want to go through the whole thing of what we've done so far, but the thing there, we had these vocals, and remember I had this one track that I did with a singer named Virginia. She's also a very talented DJ from Berlin. And this was about maybe 11 years ago or something like that we released this, maybe even more. So we had these kind of like outtakes, and I used some of these outtakes to kind of just fool around and show you guys what we could do as far as processing from zero to where we got to last week, and this is the third week we're doing this. And we started with the stuff that you can't ignore, and the stuff that you can't ignore, and I'll just walk you through it quickly, is first of all, every time when you take a mixing and mastering class with me, you know that I drill it into your heads that the first thing you always think about when you're beginning any job of production is reductive EQ. So we need to do reductive EQ, and there are 4 considerations that I talk about in reductive EQ. For most things, sometimes for vocals maybe less, but in this case, the 4 considerations are going to be: get rid of all the low end that you don't need. Right here, we're cutting at 62 hertz. That's a nice cut because it doesn't really take away the chest voice if there is any chest voice. It's not like going all the way to 100 hertz or something like that. Also, find some resonances, and we found resonances in here. Get rid of those. Put those in check. If there's another consideration is also looking for sibilance. Now, we didn't find too much sibilance, and sibilance, again, is this shrill stuff that happens somewhere between, 5 to 11K is where you're really going to find that stuff. We didn't find much here, but you never know. You could find it later, so sometimes at the end of the chain, I'll check again for sibilance. So that's the first thing you're going to do. If the vocal has been newly recorded, if it's a newly recorded vocal, the thing that you're going to want to have to do is maybe consider whether you're going to curtail the dynamics on the vocals. Are you going to, make sure that the vocals are going to fit inside of your backing track? That's the idea. So the question came up at one point is why are we going to squash all the dynamics on a vocal? Isn't it better for the actual delivery if it's very dynamic? And yes, let's say if it was an acapella that you were recording that you were going to keep as an acapella, like just no backing track or very simple backing track. In that case, nothing is competing with it, so we have a possibility of keeping very quiet parts versus very loud parts, because that makes for very, very intriguing and very engaging recording. However, when we have a backing track, especially these days when our backing tracks are so full, they're electronic-based backing tracks with kick drums and 808s and basses that are really kind of doing their thing down there, and then lots of stabs and synths in the mids and percussion and hi-hat snares, and it's like a full thing. When we have that going on, we need to somehow fit it in there. So we do that by controlling the dynamics within a compressor or 2 or 3. And in this case, we use a technique referred to as series compression. I'm not going to get into it again because I'd be talking about it for the third week now. We have 3 compressors in a series, though, handling all the dynamics. If you want to see what's going on, go on our YouTube page and have a look at the class from maybe, or the stream from maybe 2 weeks ago, where I went through the whole process of how to do the series compression. By the way, while you're there, maybe you could hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get up. Let's see what the numbers are this week. The numbers are 20.5K. Wow, it's moving a lot faster now. This is awesome. So yeah, if you like, go on there, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're there, also maybe you can give me a like for this video today. Anyway, so that's the stuff you can't escape. You have to do the reductive EQ, and you have to consider whether you're going to have some initial kind of dynamics-based compression. This is just the law. You have to do this. You can't ignore this. You need to get that taken care of. But from that point on, there's a lot of sort of forks in the road. Now, the first little fork in the road is going to be whether you want to enhance the EQ on this. Now, if the mic that you used sounds great already, I've told you that a lot of professional engineers EQ with microphones. What I mean by that is that they grab the right microphone off the shelf to record the right material, and they do minimal amount of EQ after when they have the recording, because it just gives them exactly what they want. So they, especially in the enhancement part of it, they don't have to go in there and add some enhancement. But we did. We used my favorite vocal enhancement EQ, which is the Neve 1073. The Neve 1073 gives us an amazing amount of air. Let me see if I can just show you real quick is what it does.
Thought I could. I never thought
Take it
I
off.
could. Never thought I had. Never thought
See how
I
flat
could.
it is.
I never thought I could.
And with a bit of
I never thought I
1073,
had.
comes up.
I never had
So
to break.
enhanced EQ usually comes for me next. After the initial kind of inescapable moves of reductive EQ and the compression, the initial compression. So after that, we talked about expanding last week, and this was last week's class. I keep on calling it a class. It might as well be a class. It's a stream, but it's a class, basically. I'm trying to show you guys what I would do. This is how it would go in the classes and on my online classes, except that you'd be sitting in front of me and I'd be able to see your faces and react to your questions and to your facial reactions as well. So here we use one of my favorite compressors of all time. I mean, not compressors, choruses of all time. This is the Studio D or Dimension D from Roland made this initially. Now this is a UA, Universal Audio kind of model of the Dimension D, and it adds magic to it. Let me just show you real quick what it
Never
does,
thought I could.
and I'll just
I
turn it
never
off. It's
thought
on
I
right now.
could. I never thought I could. Never thought I had.
That's nice,
Never thought
but
I
put
cared.
that in there,
I never thought I cared.
and it's just this
I never
warm,
thought I
lush
had. I
sort
never
of
had to
chorus.
breathe. I never hold your hand. I never thought I
Very
had.
nice stuff. And basically, the way that it works is that you pick one of these four. You could have it off and then try 1, which is going to be the lightest version of it, or the lightest setting, and 4, which is the heaviest setting. We settled upon 4 last week. On the original, you could actually click in four of them to get some extra action out of this thing. Calico Council says, my owner met Abe in an online class and she was happy. Oh, I get it. I understand who Calico Council is now. Martin Crockett is here. Right, talking about pigments. Very nice. Martin, it's always nice to see you. Who else is in here? Let's see. You guys are talking, chatting up. JB is here. Miss J, right. I remember Miss J. Miss J. Oh, Miss J is very, very, very talented. Was in one of my Ableton classes. That's right. Let's see. Who else? Okay, let's get back to the. I don't want to lose the track of what I'm doing. So we started. I started to explain to you what we can do to try to take things beyond the initial kind of stuff that has to be done. Right now, the forks in the road start to really happen. So do we go with this chorus in the way that we have it now, or do we take another approach? Now, last week, and just to reiterate what we did last week, I showed you a thing that we could do. I kind of had these rendered versions of the vocal, and I made 3 copies of them. And on the 3 copies, I actually took them, and I took one and took it 1 octave higher, and I took another one and took an octave lower, and I took another one and I put it through a vocoder, and I just made it do this dirty kind of raspy noise vocoder based stuff, and together
I never filled my head.
they kind of enhance
I
what's
never
going
thought
on
I
in here.
would.
Let me just turn it off so you
I
can
never
hear.
thought I had.
See, I'm
I
back,
never thought I can.
and it's just kind of reinforcing that vocal.
I never thought I could. I never thought
So
I
that's a
could.
possibility,
Never thought I had.
but there are more possibilities that we can imagine doing. Again, I say with vocal production and production in general, but with vocal production, it is very interesting how many different routes you can take, and you really do have to have a vision or an idea for what your vocals will do in order for you to know eventually what exactly it is that you're going to apply to them. let's try another approach. Let's see. Right now, this is the group of vocals. This is the high, the low, and the rasp. I'm going to just rename them real quick to high and low and the raspy one. Raspy. That means, the noise one. And I'll name the group copies. And okay, so I'll put that to the side for now. I'll turn it off, and I'll show you another possible way that we can do it. So what we did before was we added that Dimension D. I'm going to take the Dimension D off, and I'm going to make a copy of this original here. It's going to take a second to copy it over. So Martin Crockett says, anyone else pick up any good deals from Black Friday? It is Black Friday. Remember, it's Black Friday, and we have a Black Friday sale going on. So have a look at our website for our Black Friday deals. Okay, so I have two of the same one now. And, one of the things that I sometimes heard from students is like, oh, yeah, I just doubled it, and now it's fatter. And that's not true. You double it, and it's just louder. It's not fatter at all. But we're going to make this get a little fatter. And there's a couple of ways. One is that we're going to apply the Haas effect. The Haas effect, Helmut Haas was a physicist that wrote a paper in the 50s, early 50s, talking about the law of first wavefront. And the idea is that one wavefront, a sound comes from a certain source, comes to your ears, and if it arrives at the same time, you have this idea that, okay, it's right near me and it's present, it's very in front of me, and it's not, it's not big, it's not far away, it's not coming from this direction. But if the sound would come to your ears and arrive at one ear just a little bit before it arrived at the other ear, you'd have this situation where your brain would interpret that, it'd use that to kind of give you a directional sort of feeling like, oh, it's coming from there, and it's also a huge sound because, of the way that it's presenting. So we can get that going, and in this copy, we're going to take one, pan it left, and the other one pan it right, and we're just going to just group these together so we know that we have these the Vox in there. And so we have left and right, but the difference that's going to happen in left and right on these two guys here is that this one is going to be delayed. And I'm going to use this track delay by a few milliseconds. So I'm going to delay it by maybe 5 milliseconds. So let's see what happens. Here we go. So first, I'm going to let you hear it now with five. Let's do a little more. Let's do 8 milliseconds of delay, and then I'm going to set it back to normal, and you'll see what it does. And what you'll notice now when I play it is it's going to sound pretty big out of right off the bat. Here we go.
Never thought I could, I never should it wear. I never thought I had.
See how big it sounds?
I never thought I
like,
loved. I never
spread
thought
out.
my hair. I never thought my hair.
Let me
I
cancel
never
that
thought I could. I
and bring
never
it back
thought I
into the
could.
center the way it was
Never
before.
thought I had.
Ready?
Never thought I cared. I never thought I
Now
cared.
we're back in the center.
I never thought I had. I never had to brave. I never hold your
Let's go back.
I never thought I guess.
Now we have 13.
I never thought I could.
See how big it is? How
I
wide
never
it
thought I
sounds?
had.
Now this is a rather modern way of working with vocals. I'd say if you wanted to hear this in a modern recording, you could listen to Billie Eilish's "Bury Your Friend," for example. She uses this very much in that. Normally, if you were talking to a vocal producer or engineer in the, say, 70s or 80s or even the 90s, you would always have this idea that main vocals always appeared in the center. They were in mono, they were in the center, and then even to the fault that you would say, oh, they're in the center, but they're also like the reverb is going to be in mono, to keep everything kind of coming at you in this kind of mono sort of way, and then everything else would kind of be flowered around it. Like, so maybe you take some backing vocals and sort of, make them left and right a little bit, or maybe you take whatever you're going to have, just harmonies and make them left and right a little bit. But the main vocals should always be in the center. It's something you always heard when I was, starting. You never really could consider doing something like what we just did. But it is a pretty cool thing, and it is a very modern sort of way of approaching your vocals, as to taking them and putting them to the sides. Meaning having one to the left and one to the right that's going to be a bit off in time. And this is the Haas effect. So I'll let you listen to it again, and I'll turn it off so you can just hear once again what I'm talking about.
Never thought I could, I never should it wear.
It sounds really good because it sounds intimate and large at the same
I
time.
never thought my hair, I never thought my hair.
And I'm going to turn it off again so you can hear the difference.
I never thought I could, never thought I had.
Now it's back into the center, into the way
I
that
never thought I cared.
we
I
are
never
used to
thought I
hearing
had.
this.
I never had to break.
Once again,
I never hold your hand.
we add a little bit
I never
of
thought
track
I
delay
could.
on one side,
I never thought I could.
and then we get this huge sort of presentation that's
I
still
never
kind of
thought I
intimate. So
had.
it's creepy in a way. So, and that fits with Billie Eilish because she's a bit of a creepy artist. And it does fit for this type of presentation, and I kind of like it. I kind of like what it does. So the Haas effect takes place in material between, say, you could already have it happen. You could notice it about 1 or 2 milliseconds is already enough to get it going. So let's try see what.
Never thought I could.
Let's go 1
I
or 2.
never should it wear. I never thought I had.
See, you could already
I
feel
never
it.
thought I loved.
See 1
I never
millisecond.
thought my hair. I never thought my hair. I never thought I could.
You hear it?
I never
It's
thought
very
I
light,
could. Never thought I had.
but as you keep
Never
on
thought I cared. I never thought I
delaying it,
cared. I never thought I had. I never had to break. I never hold your hand. I never thought I guess.
so
I never.
let me give you the kind of the boundaries here. You can't go infinitely with this because your brain is performing a little bit of interpretation, and it's a bit fooling you because there's actually 2 sounds going on, and this binaural setup that we have in our ears, but your brain is kind of fusing them together into one big sound. We can get away with that for a while, but we can't get away with it forever. There'll be a point where I'll increase the track delay, and then suddenly it'll feel like there's 2 things playing. You'll see. Let's get there.
Never thought I could. I never should it wear. I never thought I had.
Still kind of held together.
Thought I loved. I never thought my hair.
Now it's starting to sound like 2 to me. Let's go definitely like 75.
I never thought I could. Never thought I had.
Now it's like the diffusion is breaking off now. And let's say at 115,
I never had to break.
that's definitely
I
2
never hold your hand.
sounds. So how much can you get away with in the divergence between on the Haas effect? I say with vocals, with voice, you can probably get up to maybe 40, 35, 40. But that's really pushing it. I would never really go higher than maybe 15 to 20 with vocals. With other sounds, if you can do this to like hi-hats or claps or whatever you want, but with percussive sounds, it becomes a little less forgiving. I think you can't get away with more than 20 or so milliseconds of divergence between left and right before your brain catches that there's 2 sounds. So with fast percussive sounds, your brain is going to catch that much quicker. When there's like held spoken voice, there's a little leeway there. But regardless, I still wouldn't take it. You don't need that much. I mean, look at it's at 9 now, and I'm sure it sounds fine.
Never thought I could. I never should it.
That sounds great to me.
I never thought I had.
Let's go a little higher.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my hair. I never thought my hair.
Sounds pretty good to me too.
I never thought I could. I never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I cared. I never thought.
So that's the Haas effect. Now, that's another approach that you can take. So once again, is this the approach that you must take in your recording production or your vocal production? No, but my job is today, or for this series, is to offer you some alternatives, some options for what you can do when you're sort of working with vocals. Let's try another one that's closely related to it. So let's bring this back to 0. And this one I learned about using Eventide's Ultra Harmonizer. Eventide had this device that came out in the 80s, I guess, called the Ultra Harmonizer. And it was really awesome because it did pitch shifting and would give you those kind of robot low frequency voices like you sounded like the devil, right? But there were some setups in there for vocals that one of them was it would pitch shift, right? And by pitch shifting I mean tuning it a little differently. I would maybe tune this one. I'm going to take the right one here and tune it just a little bit different. Not in semitones, but in cents. So cents are hundredths of a semitone. So I would take that and tune it maybe up by, say, 6 semitones. And when you do that, you're going to get the same sort of illusion, but without the separation in time that happens with the Haas effect. So let's see. Let's start at 0 and let's start to move it as it plays.
Never thought I had, I never
I'm going to bring it
thought
up
I
now.
loved. I never thought my head, I never thought my head, I never thought
See
I
how it
could.
starts to
I never
separate and
thought I
get
could.
wider now suddenly?
Never thought I had,
There's a little more.
never thought I cared. I never thought I cared. I never thought I
Keep
had.
going.
I never had to break.
So after a while, it started to sound dissonant or discordant or whatever. So you do want to hold back. I usually do about 5 or 6
I never
cents.
thought I had to. I never thought I would.
But this is definitely in the same realm of
I never thought I could.
this Haas effect, this kind of psychoacoustic effect that opens up
I never hoped I thought.
your brain's interpretation of how wide the sound is.
I never thought I would.
So if we did that
I never thought
and then
I
did something like
I never
maybe
thought I could.
doing
I
the
never thought I
track
had.
delay too, a little bit of track delay, you might get a very interesting result. Let's go back.
Never thought I had. I never thought I loved. I never thought my head. I never thought my head. I never thought I could. I never thought I could.
All right, so this is one option that we have now.
I never thought I cared. I never thought.
This is one option that we have towards doing this for this Haas effect and this variation on the Haas effect, which is to pitch it a little different. So widening things, we talked about how the chorus worked in one of these classes, these recent classes, and I told you that there's only 2 things that you can do to widen something, whether it's play with make a copy and play with the timing, and make a copy and play with the pitch. So, in this case, we're playing with both of those again, timing and pitch. So timing and pitch is really kind of what we do to make things wider. Now, we could keep it like that and decide that this is the way we're going, but I wanted to show you a little bit of how this would sound on the copy. So I'm going to turn this off, the second one, and keep it with the chorus. I'm going to put the chorus back on because I took the chorus off. It's a stereo chorus. I could have done that and added the stereo chorus to the group, which would have been nice as well.
Never thought I could. I never should have read.
But now let's go to the copies here that I have here, which are muted right now. Let's put them back in.
I never thought my head. I never thought I could.
So what you could do though is with this you can make copies of these guys and Haas effect maybe the high. So I'm gonna double the high one. Sorry, Command D should have doubled that. Get a duplicate and then pan them left and right and then do a little bit of Haas effect to it and see what that sounds like. And I'm going to turn off the other ones, the raspy one and see what that feels like. So let's turn that.
I never thought I had. I never had to break. I never hold your hand.
So that's the high frequency one. And
I never thought I could.
I might want to filter that a little bit, get the low end out of that one.
I never thought I would.
But that is
I never hoped I
spread to the
would.
side. Now, I could do the same with the low. I'll copy that one. But in this case, I'm going to pan them again. But when you have two sets of things that you want to put in the Haas effect, one of the cool things that you could imagine doing is instead of having them both left at 0 and the track delay happen on the right one, why don't you make the track delay happen on the left one and keep the right one in place? So that way these come at you from kind of different directions, really. It feels, your brain is going to feel like they're kind of coming at you from different directions. So
Never thought I could. I never should and where.
they're coming
I never
right now.
thought I
Here we
had.
go.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my head. I never thought my head.
Now, they're very loud right now for my taste.
Thought I could.
I just wanted them loud in there so that you can sort of get an idea
I never thought
of
I
what they
could.
sound like. I mean, normally I would probably then bring, just bring the raspy one in there just to, or back up and then lower this. But it just really sit in the background, just reinforcing that original vocal.
I never thought I would.
And that's a nice little reinforcement.
I never hoped I must. Say, I never thought I could. I
So
never thought
imagine instead of using the Haas effect always, delaying one side, that if you have another thing that you want, another set of parts that you want to put in the Haas effect, that you do it the opposite. Yet you delay the left and keep the right in place versus the other one. And then maybe even change the numbers here, right? So maybe this one goes a little higher, this one goes a little lower. So just so that they're really coming at you from kind of different sides. It's a very nice thing to do. Spicy Haas, says F-Stop. Yes, Spicy Haas. All right. So it's about halfway point. I just wanted to remind you guys you're watching 343 TV. My name is Abe Duque. I'm an instructor at 343 Labs. We have a school. Today is Black Friday. Please go on our website. Have a look at our Black Friday deals. We are offering some pretty sick deals. Come and check it out. I don't know how long Black Friday is going to last. I think maybe just today. I don't know. Maybe somebody could from the office can write in the chat how long Black Friday is going to last. But if it might not last too long, so go on there and check it out. We are here every 343 TV. We're here every day at 1 p.m. and my show is on Friday. Last week I covered for John on Saturday, and I was the Latino John Selway, and somebody dubbed me Juanito Selway. Anyway, I think John will be here tomorrow, though. It won't be me. Okay, so let's keep going here. Let's keep going. Let's have a look in the chat. Guys, if you have any questions or any comments about what I'm doing, please just throw them in the chat and make sure you at me so that I know that you're asking me a question right now. Because I know that you guys talk to each other a lot in the chat, and you guys, have a lot going on in this community. You guys kind of... take care of each other with answering questions. But if you have any questions for me that you want me to talk about here and now, please just come on, just write them into the chat. And if you have questions for like next week, maybe throw them into the comment section. By the way, if you like what you're seeing, please give me a like because I like to impress my friends with those likes that you guys give me. Anyway, let's keep moving. So we're just exploring different ways of producing vocals and what we could possibly do. So far, all we've really done is dealt with the EQ, compression, and maybe placement of the vocals. They've been very dry. Right now, the vocals have not been, we have not at all dealt with anything to do with, reverbs or delays. And those are actually another set of forks that you have to imagine taking on the road. Do you want reverb? Do you want delay? If so, what type of reverb? What type of delay? A lot of times people say to me, oh yeah, I want some reverb on these vocals and I want some delay on these vocals. But I immediately tell them, hey, why don't you please show me a reference track as to what what you're talking about? because there's so many ways of presenting vocals with reverb and delay. One of my favorite ways of presenting, for example, reverb is a reverb that you barely hear. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other things. Let's see some people writing stuff in the chat, though, in the meantime. Someone ask Abe a question, please. May I ask what she was mic'd with? I don't know. She sent me the vocals herself. She just recorded herself and sent them to me. So I don't know what microphone she was using, and if it was in a booth. Virginia is a professional singer, so she, I am sure, has a pretty smooth setup for her recordings of her vocals. I'm sure she has maybe if she did them in her home, but she has probably a place in her home where she, dedicates to recording vocals, which is treated and has, I'm sure, a mic that she likes using. I mean, it's obvious the vocals that she recorded are very nice and clean. Martin Crocker says, did you do any double tracking or ad libs? So we are actually working on the ad libs. This is a track that came out, I would like to say more than 10 years ago now. It was called Following My Heart. You guys could look it up on YouTube. And these vocals that we're hearing right now, these are just the ad libs or outtakes from the main vocals that were used in the track. None of the main vocals I'm using right now. I'm just using the ad libs or outtakes. And I don't believe she sent me doubles, which is always a very good thing to try to get from a singer. If you're producing a vocal in a track, that that if the singer sings you one or records one for you, that you ask for another or two or three or as many as you can. Now, sometimes singers go overboard and they'll send you 15 recordings of the same take, and then that becomes a little bit of a problem because now you got to go through 15 or 16 takes and decide which is going to be the better ones. But I'd say that at least 2 or 3 really good takes of the same thing so that you can double it. Now, you saw me use that Dimension D chorus, which I think is a great chorus, but I think that that the Dimension D would not be as good as having a good doubling that you can just put against it. Anyway, let's keep on going. I don't want time to run out on us. So we have so let's talk about reverb. So I have a reverb in here, and it's a basic. I mean, I can grab a very nice reverb. Why not grab a nice reverb? Let's grab a one of these plugins here from. Let's grab a nice plate reverb. My favorite plate reverb is the EMT. Let's see, and Universal Audio. And where is these EMT? See the 140. Let's see what that does. This is EMT 140. This is an insane reverb. What we have in it is a few different plates, but this is it's amazing for vocal plate. Plates are plates are great for snares and for vocals. Not exclusively, but it's a very nice thing to use. But let's go on the main vocals and add some reverb to it. So let's feed it to this reverb. So that's a delay. Sorry, A is the reverb. So let's just solo that for a second. Now, that's a nice plate, but it's a little too, low and not enough, not right. And because of that, there's a very famous studio in the UK called Abbey Road Studios. Maybe you've heard of it. But anyway, they had a technique that they applied to all their reverbs, where they and it became known as the Abbey Road sort of technique, where they would take the reverb and they would EQ it. And let's grab a regular EQ. They would EQ it in either on the way in or on the way out, and they would cut about 600 hertz on the way in here, and they would also cut out, and let's do it just with filters. I mean, we could do it with shelves as well, but they would cut out around 6,000. So right now we're at 6,000, so 6.12 kilohertz. And they would just let this pass through. And when you do that, it doesn't conflict with the voice as much. It kind of fits in the right place. This is more of a natural reverb that you would get. Now, in the studio, you can get very exaggerated details. And if you think about what happens in real life, it really doesn't present that same way. And if you want a really nice reverb, like you would hear in a very nice chamber for recording, for singing, like acoustically designed chamber for voice, you would need to actually do this. Get rid of all that low end and get rid of all that excessive high end. And let's see what that sounds versus what it sounded before.
Never thought I could, I never should it wear, I never thought I had, I never thought I loved.
Set a little
I
more.
never thought my head.
And let's
I never
take
thought
down
my
a little
head.
less.
I never thought I could. I never thought I could.
Let's see
Never
what
thought
sounds
I
like in
had.
the mix.
Never thought I cared. I never thought I cared. I never thought I had.
Let's try a different plate.
I never hold your hand. I never thought I cares.
Let's try it.
I never thought I could.
So that's the
I
Abbey
never
Road
thought I had.
EQ of
I
the
never thought I would.
of reverb. Let's try moving the
I never
EQ
hoped I
before
was.
the reverb.
Say
See how it changes
I
things.
never thought I could. I never thought I had to.
I kind of like that better.
I never hoped I thought. I never thought my head.
So let's hear that in
I
the
never
mix.
thought I would. I never thought I had to. I never thought I can. I never thought I had to.
Now here's a trick with reverb that I like using. Sometimes I'll do this, but most of the time I'm going to go for a more dramatic reverb response. And the way I'll do that, and I'm kind of set up for doing it right now, is I'm not going to drop it in from here. I'm going to turn back this other one on in here, and I'm going to copy this reverb setup here. I'm going to copy these guys. And putting these back in the center. I'm going to put this one back in the center here. But on the copy here, those were the high ones. Let's forget about those. That's not the ones that I want to do. I want to do these guys over here. Okay. So on the high ones, what I want to do is, not the high ones, the normal ones. I want to put these right on top of each other. And on the copy here, I'm going to take away all the processing I did initially. So that sounds crazy, but it's true. I'm going to take away the EQ. I'm going to take away the series compression. I'm going to take away the Neve 1073. And I'm going to, all of this stuff, all this treatment that I did, I'm just going to not worry about it. And I'm going to drop the reverb in here. And why am I doing this? Well, the question that's a great question. The reason I'm doing this is because imagine this. Imagine you're in a church with me, right? We're standing next to each other on the pews, and I lean in and I whisper to you and I say, "Hey, man," whatever, or "Hey, lady," blah 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 blah. Okay, that quiet voice that I speak to you in that church, it's not going to sound reverberant. It's going to be so close to you. It's going to be, close enough to your ear that it's not going to get a chance to bounce off the walls and surfaces and come back to you as reverberant. But as I increase my voice, as I increase the volume of my voice, maybe all the way to like screaming or singing really loud, you're going to feel the reverb or hear the reverb much more. So the reverb doesn't get applied to my voice in the real scenario unless I really go dramatic with it. The more dramatic I go with it, the more the reverb is applied. So in this case, when I take away the EQ and the compression especially, when I have these more dynamic vocals going into my reverb, the reverb becomes this more hyperbolic, dynamic kind of part that I can blend in with my vocals. So I'll take these and then start blending it with this reverb.
I never thought I hit, I never thought I loved, I never thought my head, I never thought my head.
So when I'm quieter,
it's
gonna be okay, but later it's gonna get louder, watch.
Never thought I cared, I never thought I cared, I never thought I hit, I never had your brain, I never hold your hand, I never thought I kissed, I never thought I could, I never thought I had to, I never thought I would.
So the way this recording was set up, the vocals got progressively louder, and the reverb got progressively louder with the vocals as they came in louder. So the vocal itself, though, got treated, but the reverb didn't. So the vocal is presenting normal, but when the vocal kind of gets a little more dynamic, the reverb kind of engages more, and there's this dynamic between the vocal and the reverb that you achieve that you couldn't have normally achieved. So that's a good way of dealing with reverb. Now we're starting to run out of time, but we're gonna keep on going. Let's deal with let's see what we could do with delay. So let's add a delay here. So we have a delay in here which we can use, and it's a ping pong. A lot of people like mono delay, all right, for vocals. A lot of people like stereo delay. Well, one thing that I think you shouldn't have is, first of all, we should do the kind of same cutting of the low end and high end on a delay. So you don't want it to, one of the last things you want it to do is the delay repeats your vocal, right? It's going to maybe step on itself, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want it to, come and kind of take away from what you're singing with something you already sung. You don't want it to. You don't want the intelligibility to go away from the main vocal. So one of the things you can do for that is just roll off the high end so that all the consonants are not so clear that only the mids are going. The other thing is I really don't want a big long feedback on this. So let's see how we're gonna do this now. We're gonna take off the reverb one for now. I'm gonna go to this delay with it.
I never thought I had, I never thought I loved, I never thought my head, I never thought my head.
So you hear how the reverb, the delay is not so bright. If I made it brighter, watch what happens. You hear all that? You hear all that, all the S's and T's and consonants and all that are getting caught up in there.
I never thought I could.
This is not good for intelligibility, meaning it's not good for keeping the original vocals, the primary, and you being able to understand them.
I never hoped I must.
So we'll just take these and roll off the high, roll off the lows.
I never hoped I thought. I never thought my head.
And then here's the magic, though. But before that, let's see. I see some questions here in the chat. Let's see. Donica is saying, what if you want a vocal to beat by beat desyncing left and right in the delay? Yes, you could have them desyncing. You could you could just detach them from the sync and do them time based. This is your prerogative, or you could even automate them. But let's keep it simple for now. Let's just see what we can do. Let's see what we can do with this the way it is.
Never thought I could.
Like I said, there's so many forks in the road and so many experiments that you can make when processing vocals, and that's kind of the fun part about it. You do need to have an idea of what you want to get accomplished, though. You really do want to have that. So let's do what I wanted to do. So what I'm going to do, though, with a vocal delay is I'm going to add a compressor to it, and the compressor, I'll put it in peak mode, and I'm going to sidechain this compressor to the vocals. So let's see. Let's do it to this one. So that when the vocals are going, the delay is going to get squashed and get out of the way completely. Soon as you stop singing, the compressor will let go and the delay will be heard. And this is a really great trick to get clarity in your, main vocal versus, using a lot of delay as well. So let's try that.
Never thought I could.
Let's get that threshold down. Let's get that ratio to infinity to 1.
I never thought I loved. I never thought my head. I never thought my head.
I'm going to exaggerate this for you to hear it.
I never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought I.
Did you hear what happens?
I never thought I cared.
The delay is totally ducking out of the way of the main vocal.
I never thought I his. I never thought I could.
I'm going to turn it off again.
Never thought I could. I never should have wear.
See how they're always there?
I never thought I loved.
It sounds cool, but it's not good enough for it to have that polish that we want. And if we do this,
never thought I could. Never thought I had.
now let's try that in the mix.
I never thought I cared. I never thought I had. I never had to break. I never hold your hand. I never thought I guess.
We could add a little more delay now.
I never thought I could. I never thought I had to. I never thought I would.
So you hear the delay.
I never hoped I was. I never thought I could. I never thought I had to. I never hoped I thought. I never thought my head.
I really like what that sounds like.
I never thought I would. I never thought I had to. I never thought I could.
Back to opening it without any compressor.
I never thought I had to.
And it sounds cool, but now you start to realize why maybe some of your vocal productions sound more like demos than actual finished productions and polished productions. This technique is going to go a very long way towards getting that done. And you could actually do this also with a reverb if you wanted to. If you wanted to keep that reverb kind of out of the way and then it just kind of shine when you want it to shine. That's your choice.
Never thought I could. I never should have wear.
Let's turn it
I never
on.
thought I had. I never thought I loved.
Now I've exaggerated it, of course,
I never
just
thought
for
I never thought I
for
could.
instructional
I
purposes.
never thought I could. Never thought I had. Never thought
We could
I
even
could.
open up the feedback now. Let's see what happens with more feedback.
I never thought I had. I never had to break. I never
Let's
hold
open
your
up this
hand.
here.
I never thought I guess. I never thought I could. I never thought I had to. I never thought I would. I never hoped I was. See, I never thought I could. I never thought I had to.
Yeah, I really like this.
I never hoped I thought.
Again, I'm exaggerating, just for instructional purposes. But yeah, so there you have it. Now, these are one of my two favorite ways of applying reverb and delay to vocals. One, with the reverb, making sure that the dynamics are still there from the original vocal take, so that when something gets very loud, it doesn't, it's driven into the reverb without the compression, so that the reverb is hyperbolic and very, very dynamic. This helps so much. to give a beautiful performance. The performance gets polished and enhanced more than you think. And then there comes the use of the delay, where we took the delay and added a compressor to it, sidechain to the vocal, which is going to open up our possibilities for what we can do without muddying it up. And it's all about keeping it from being muddy. Muddiness is not what we really want in our vocal takes. Let's see. We have, I think I saw F-Stop say something about liking this technique for synths as well. Yeah, sure. This is be an awesome thing to try on synthesizers. Anything you want, really. Now that you know that you can sidechain, most people with sidechain compression, right? They will only do it to kick and bass. That's the end of sidechain compression in their heads, and not necessarily the only thing you can do with it. This shows you that you can sidechain compress, things like a vocal to a delay unit. One of my favorite uses is in mixing and mastering of sidechain compression to have parts that are kind of clashing with each other. Say it's a guitar and a vocal, and you want the vocal to be a primary, but you won't want the guitar to be out. So you sidechain the guitar to the vocal, so that when the vocal is in, the guitar kind of pulls a little bit back. And that in my mixes, you're gonna see a lot of the time sidechainings happening between two elements that are clashing all the time, just to establish clarity. Remember, there's only a finite amount of frequencies and amplitudes that you can be playing with, and you got to figure out clever ways to get that going. The sidechain. Sorry, I was just reading something. Simple Sam says it also gets some dubby sounds in there that way. Playing only the delay might sound cool by itself. The send only, that's Simple Sam's talking about. Creative idea, Sam says, Danica. But so we were talking about sidechain. The other thing I was going to mention about sidechain is that maybe you also consider sidechain filtering versus sidechain compression. Sidechain filtering will close out a filter, whether it's a high pass or a low pass filter. You could make the filter kind of close based on the sidechain that you have. And this happens a lot, say, if you want a snare in like dubstep to like really snap and to cut through in the mix. You can do the super sidechaining, where you take everything else except for maybe the kick drum, take everything else and sidechain it to the snare with a filter. So when the snare hits, everything else just the filter closes, the low pass filter closes, and all the highs come out of the rest of the stuff, so that the snare really cuts perfectly through. That's a really great use of sidechain filtering, and don't forget that is an option. Sidechain filtering. You don't have to only do sidechain compression. Sidechain filtering sometimes is a better solution for what you might be wanting to do. So you see, Donica says, with respect to width, sometimes I find out after hours of experimenting that it's not what I needed. Yeah, it could be that could be the case. I need to think about position first. This revelation came to me by playing with a spatializer, says Donica Becker. So lots of good stuff here in the chat. So guys, I think we're running out of time. I think we've basically run out of time. This has been great. Thank you for joining me once again here. I'm here every Friday, and if you want to take a class with me, come to our website and check out 343labs.com, and maybe it's Black Friday. It wouldn't be a bad time to choose to try to take a class with us. So come check it out, and I'll be back with you next week. We'll switch it up. I'm gonna stop talking about vocal production. I've been doing these three streams on the topic. Now this is the third stream on vocal production. I think I'm going to switch it up to something else. I don't know what. If you have ideas, write them in the comments section. Maybe I'll follow what you guys want. I always want to make you guys happy. So write them down in the comment section, and we'll see what happens next week. So with that said, thank you once again for joining us, and I will be here next week.